Welcome back to Tottenham Tactics. In this breakdown, we'll look at where Spurs fell short in their 2-0 loss to Newcastle. It was one of those nights where we were second best both on and off the ball. Newcastle had that want it more energy, pressing with intensity and moving with purpose, while Spurs never really found rhythm or control. Still, there were clear tactical patterns and a few positives worth noting, so let's break it down. In build-up, Spurs formed a 2-5-3, with Danzo and Kinski staying deep. Porro and Spence pushed high. Bentancur anchored the pivot, and Xavi and Bergvall rotated fluidly to unsettle Newcastle's midfield. Out of possession, Spurs dropped into a compact 4-4-2, with Richarlison and Xavi leading the press. The two lines stayed tight, forcing Newcastle wide and reducing central space. Newcastle built up with a back three, with Dan Burn staying deeper. Spurs pressed using the winger on the ball side, but the overall intensity was low. They only engaged properly around the halfway line. Defensively, Newcastle dropped into a deep 4-4-2. Elanga worked tirelessly down the right, often tracking Spence all the way back, which pinned our fullback and shut down overlaps. Whenever the ball went backwards, Newcastle instantly switched into a 4-2-3-1 press. The front four stepped up, cutting off passing lanes and trapping Spurs near their own box. When Walter dropped deep, he dragged Bentancur out, giving Tonali space to receive between the lines stretching Spurs' midfield and keeping Newcastle's build-up smooth. At another point, Willock pulled Sarr inside, leaving Bentancur isolated and creating a central overload that Newcastle exploited easily. In one sequence, Willock dragged Sarr wide, while both Elanga and Voltemade dropped into the same zone. That created a three-man overload, and Spurs didn't react quickly enough, leaving Bentancur outnumbered. Later, Bentancur stepped up to engage Voltemade, but that left a huge pocket behind him. Jacob Ramsey drifted into that space, giving Newcastle another route through the middle. A similar pattern followed. Palhinha pressed Voltemade, but lost the duel. Porro then shifted toward Ramsey, leaving Barnes completely free on the far side, creating a massive chance. Another key reason Newcastle dominated was their relentless pressing. They never let Spurs breathe. Every touch was contested, every pass pressured. Spurs tried going long through Kinski to bypass it, and when it worked, they broke forward quickly. But Dan Burn's aerial strength meant Richarlison barely won a duel. Newcastle's press completely suffocated our rhythm. The first goal came in bizarre fashion. Spence was still tying his laces when play resumed. With Spurs, a man short in the box, Newcastle overloaded the area and scored from the corner a lapse in focus that summed up the night. The second goal came from that same aggression. Spurs tried to force a risky pass from the back. Newcastle pounced, and Voltemade finished after Kinski misjudged his run off the line. Our press, meanwhile, lacked bite. The wingers applied only light pressure, allowing Newcastle's defenders time to pick their passes. The midfield sat too deep, leaving easy options and letting them circulate possession comfortably. Xavi managed to find space a few times, creating half chances, but we couldn't capitalise. Richarlison mistimed 2 or 3 good runs, and Tonali bossed the midfield, dictating tempo and keeping us from gaining control. Overall, this was a tough watch for Spurs fans. Newcastle pressed harder, moved smarter, and simply wanted it more. Our structure was fine on paper, but the execution both technically and mentally wasn't there. Still, there's reason for optimism. The build-up patterns are evolving, Xavi and Kudus showed flashes, and with a bit more sharpness and urgency, Spurs can turn these lessons into progress. Thanks for watching Tottenham Tactics, where we keep the faith, even when it hurts.